Before we get started with today's video, I have an announcement to make. After years of telling other people's stories, I finally released one of my own. My novel Eternal Reign is available now in both ebook and paperback format for those of you who are like me and prefer to collect physical media. You can grab a copy right now on Amazon through the link in the description of this video. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. The next time the Warrior of Light chats with Demetra in Gridania, she has some very interesting news to tell you about. A book filled with ancient summoner secrets has been found in some Allegan ruins, and she's about to head to Mordona to get it from Rambros. Since summoning techniques are kind of important to you, she figured you'd want to tag along. From what Rambros has learned from the thing, it is some type of instruction manual for summoning magic, but there wasn't much he could learn since he couldn't translate the language. That's more of Demetra's area of expertise anyway, and she immediately gets started on trying to figure out the book's secrets. That normally boring process gets a little strange when the book wakes up and starts talking. He calls himself Principia, and he's a familiar who knows a lot about summoning, and he's been programmed with the job of teaching up-and-coming summoners the proper techniques. Normally it's asleep, but the Warrior of Light's soul crystal turned the thing on. Summoning arts were created for the sole purpose of dealing with primals, but once all of the primals have been dealt with, it would be impossible to create new Eggi, which would cause the summoners to die out. To keep that from happening, a master summoner made Principia, stored some of the most powerful spells and incantations into him, and programmed him to teach those arts to summoners to keep the craft from dying out. The book is supposed to teach the Warrior of Light these lost arts, but there are some seals on the knowledge that can only be removed if the student can pass 3 tests. Since this is a good opportunity to get more power, the Warrior of Light agrees to take the tests. The first one is simple. Principia will summon a monster and you have to fight it. It summons a very generic creature that doesn't take all that much effort to put down, but the display does impress the book since you've gotten as strong as you have without an actual teacher. With the right training, Principia thinks that the Warrior of Light has the potential to become as good as some of the summoners of the past. He actually has a lot of knowledge of the past too, which he's willing to share with you. The history lesson seems more interesting to Demetra than the Warrior of Light, and the first thing she wants to know is exactly what era was the book made in, because compared to some of the other Allegan relics you've all found, Principia seems kind of primitive. Oddly enough, the book was made by a master summoner named Sari, who was most likely the last summoner to live during the Allegan Empire. That would mean despite Principia being made with some outdated tech, it was created when Allegan machines were at their most advanced. There's a reason why none of that advanced technology was used on him though. The Allegans had rose to greatness through their mastery of magic, not technology. The early summoners used regular grimoires for combat, but over time there was a merger between the magical side and the science side, and that was where aetherochemical technology came from. It caused the classic spell books to get replaced by weapons that let people throw around much deadlier magic at a faster pace, but their ease of use didn't help train new students. It also took complicated and very expensive machinery to do something as simple as go back and reread an old spell. So while the new stuff was more powerful, it wasn't better in all areas, which is why Sari made Principia without all of that stuff. With that not so brief history lesson out of the way, the 3 of you head back to Gridania so you can get ready for test number 2. Captain Wolf is there because he once again needs Demetra's help with something. Since she's more interested in finding all of Principia's secrets, she's not exactly willing to give him all that much attention. But it turns out that what he wants and the book's second test go hand in hand. The second test is going to need a few other summoners to attack the Warrior of Light, and after all of the things you've been doing with the summoning magic, the Immortal Flame started training summoners of their own. Dancing Wolf had personally picked people who had survived encounters with Ifrit and gave them some of the soul crystals you all got from the Ascians. He had been trying to get Demetra to get you to help train them a bit, and he's willing to let them help with your test if you'll teach them a thing or two about summoning. Principia is fine with the idea, and there's nothing blocking him from sharing the knowledge with the rookies either, so it's a win-win for everyone. Wolf goes to gather his summoners out in Camp Bluefog, and you all head out there so you can beat up a few rookies while calling it teaching. To make the test actually mean something, Principia is going to modify Dancing Wolf's summoner's powers before the fight starts, that way he can analyze the ether you use. The 3 rookies are Crispin, Denise, and Jajasamu, who are very eager for any training they can get from the Warrior of Light, which means they're all too ready to match their skills against yours. Once you finish spanking the rookies, Principia is pleased with your skills and claims that you completed task number 2. So the Warrior of Light and Demetra head back to Gridania to get ready for whatever the book is planning next. Before you dive right back into hitting things, Principia has another history lesson for you about how summoners both rose to power and lost favor. Demetra already knows some of that, The summoners started off as heroes because of how they dealt with primals, but some of them started using their powers for personal gain, and that started to make some people jealous because for some reason people get mad when someone profits off of a skill they have. Principia's master Sari kept fighting primals even after people started treating the summoners like outcasts, and with the help of some of his students he even managed to bring down Belias, a particularly powerful primal. Sari thought summoning was going to fade from existence, so he started looking for ways to keep the knowledge alive for future generations. He started trying to find ways to do summoning without grimoires, and that led to him modifying the summon Eggy with tech. He didn't think that would work all that well when it came to passing down knowledge, so he made Principia. He was a very talented man, which makes it odd that Amitra's never seen his name in any history books. Since summoners weren't exactly liked, they probably excluded Sari from history on purpose. Unfortunately, Principia ended up locked in a storeroom for a long time, so he doesn't even know what happened to his master. What he does know is that you're ready for your final test, but this time he can't tell you what this test actually is about. All he can say is the last test is meant to simulate a real primal threat, and he wants you to get the other summoners to help you out again. Captain Wolf is more than happy to send his summoners off to get a bit more first-hand experience with the Warrior of Light, and to help expedite the process, he gets you all access to Seal Rock, so you can have a spot to carry out your practice battle without any interruptions. Since there's no point in waiting, you head off to Ul'dah so you can get to the training ground. Dancing Wolf and his summoners have already went on ahead of you, but when they got there something strange happened. Something attacked them, and it's hurt all of the summoners pretty bad. Dancing Wolf is the only man left standing, and it was pure luck that Jajasamu managed to call in Mitra for help. The Warrior of Light and Mitra and Principia head to the rock as quickly as they can, and when you all get there you see that your friends are being attacked by a lot of Eggies, way more than any one summoner should be able to conjure up. They're all different sized versions of Sephiroth, one of the members of the Warring Triad, which would explain why the rookie summoners were beaten so easily. Dancing Wolf is fighting the summoner behind all of this, and when the Warrior of Light gets there, the strange summoner calls you the potential and decides to test your power. When you bring down all of the summoners Eggy, he calls some very alive Allegan experiments to attack you. By the time the fight is over, Mitra and Principia have finished healing the wounded summoners, and they finally make it to the battlefield. Principia recognizes the summoner you fought as his master Sari, who should be very dead. The book wants to know how his old master is still alive, but instead of answering his questions, he casts a spell on the book then disappears in a very unusual way for a human. Everyone has a lot of questions, but it'll be better to talk when you're someplace safe, so you pack everything up and head back to Ul'dah. Once you're back safe in the city, Dancing Wolf thanks you for saving all of their lives, since none of them would have survived without you showing up. Keeping your allies alive is great, but what you really need to do is find out how an ancient Allegan summoner came back to life and attacked you. The best place to look for that information is in Principia, so you and Amitra head back to Gridania to talk to the book. Principia is positive that you did fight his old master. The man definitely died, but cloning people wasn't exactly new to the Allegan, so he could have been a clone. Seal Rock was made by the Allegan Empire, so having an ancient Allegan clone pop up there isn't as odd as it might sound. The spell Sari put on the book locked the information that he was supposed to share with you, and the only person who can unlock it is Sari, even though you did pass the third test by rushing in to save your allies during the attack. That fight wasn't the test that the book had planned, but it worked out in the end. Sari wanted his knowledge to be passed down to summoners who had good character, which is why this more violent Sari seems off. Regardless, you have to find him if you want to unlock the hidden knowledge inside of the book. Principia is more than willing to help, if for no other reason than to stop the imposter from tainting his master's legacy. Mitra figures that trying to find out about Sari's past is the best way to track him down. And the best person to talk to about all things Allegan is Rambros, so you all take a quick trip to Mordona to see if he can help out. Rambros is always willing to help, but he knows someone who collects more ancient relics than even his group does, so if anyone has some records on Sari, it would be her. The problem is that person is Rowena, which means getting her to share that information might cost you a kidney. Rambros and his people have started working closely with her, so as long as he guarantees that her stuff will be returned, she might let you borrow the tombstones without making you mortgage your house. The always greedy woman is actually willing to help, and her scribes have already pulled all of the info from the tombstones, so she saves you the trouble of having to get the machines that can read the things, and instead hands you a lot of books that you have to read through to find what you need. After a lot of reading that was probably quite boring, Mitra finds something saying that the Allegan military had confiscated all of Sari's research. This happened toward the end of his life, so it would have been after he made Principia, after having his work stolen and seeing his students killed, that may have had something to do with why he changed to the more violent man that you fought. Some of the other records show that when the military found Sari, he had already been killed by someone else. After that, they took over his experiments and started trying to move forward with what he had been working on. They started testing things on a man-made island, which just so happens to be Seal Rock. So it's likely that the summoner showing up on that island activated some of those experiments, which led to their near deaths. The Allegans had stopped testing Sari's work when something had gone wrong, and they took all of their test results to a place that has been a constant pain for the Warrior of Light, the Itherochemical Research Facility out in Azizla, which is likely the place that the clone of Sari fled to, which means you're going to be taking another trip there, so you all head back to Gridania to get ready for it. Sari is clearly waiting for you, which means this is likely a trap. Azizla isn't exactly a safe place in general, so Dancing Wolf and his summoners decide to tag along with you as backup. When you get there, Sari finds you, and he lets you know that he's not a clone at all. He will tell you what he is if you can beat him. If not, it won't matter since you'll be dead. He tells you where to meet him before he disappears again, and he vanishes just like a summoned creature. With the machines that Sari made, it's actually possible to reconstruct a person's ether and make an exact replica of them, meaning the summoner that you're dealing with isn't Sari but one of his machines. If you don't destroy it, then it'll just keep summoning Sari over and over again. Fortunately, the summoner can't move too far away from what it summons, so the machine is going to be close to where Sari went. Emitra borrowed her sister's etherometer, so if the machine is invisible, she'll be able to see it. You're all as prepared as you can be, so you head inside of the building to do battle with Sari and whatever machine is controlling him. Sari reappears, and since you figured out what he is, he tells you his purpose. He's a part of a defense mechanism that can grow and evolve to deal with bigger and bigger threats. If he ever came across something with more power than Sari, his mission is to kill it, absorb its ether, and turn it into the new Guardian. In other words, the machine wants to kill the Warrior of Light and turn her into his new Eggy. That doesn't sound healthy for the Warrior of Light, so it's a good thing that Emitra found the actual summoner, which turns out to be a very large Allegan node. Just because you found it doesn't mean beating it will be easy, since the thing summons 2 more versions of Sari to make sure that you don't make it out of there alive. The machine clearly didn't know who you were, because despite trying very hard to unalive you, it fails and gets destroyed. With the machine broken, the seal on Principia fades, letting it share all of its techniques with you while Captain Wolf finishes searching the area. While he was searching, he found a lot of soul crystals that belonged to all of Sari's murdered students. There was also a tombstone that had the unaltered story of what happened to the man. After his students were killed, he started to doubt that mortals could be trusted with the fate of the world, so he started working on new ways to protect the world from primals. That led to him creating the machine that tried to kill you. Combining its computing power with a lot of soul crystals, it was able to summon a lot of creatures at the same time. When Sari finished building it, he programmed it to act as the world's guardian, then he self-deleted so it could absorb him and all of his power. That's what led us here. Leaving the soul crystals laying around isn't the best idea, so Emitra puts them inside of Principia for safekeeping, and the book goes back to sleep. The spells that are put on it will let it wake up to give the soul crystals to worthy summoner candidates, but for now, its mission is complete. This concludes the Stormblood portion of the Summoner storyline. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, comment, share it, and subscribe. Grab a copy of my book on the way out, and I'll see you all next time.